up, people? Ross out here in Singapore, and thank you so much for joining me back on the NightOwl podcast. And whew, I'm feeling kind of zen at the moment. I'm feeling very grateful, actually, and that's part of the reason I wanted to do this particular episode. I've been looking back over, how much has happened over 2021. I've been looking back at who was there when I needed them and who was available when I hinted at the fact that I would need help, because I do. I watch everybody around me, and not to say that I judge them on based on whether they're good people or not, but I am constantly gauging whether I am safe with certain people or not. And so when you ask for little pieces of help, like, can you get this for me within the house, something that's already in the house, can you go grab it and bring it back to me? Can you do that? And the way they respond tells me a lot. If I ask you, you're out of the house maybe, and I'm asking you to pick up something on the way back home, how you respond to that tells me a lot, that I can or cannot ask you again. If I'm asking you to help me fix something that's broken inside the house, how you respond to that tells me a lot about whether, you feel burdened by me asking you anything or not. If I ask you to stop doing something because it hurts my feelings, how you respond to that tells me a lot. So if you notice, right, everything that people do has an effect on how you perceive them and whether or not you will go back and ask for help or approach them or consider them part of your emergency team in the event that something should go completely haywire. Now, 2021 was one of those years where how do I explain this? I was not in the best of health, and that means monetary health. Money is not something I talk about very often. I don't like money at all. I have a very tough time with money. I'm not good with money, and that's probably part of the reason why I just avoid that topic altogether. But that is also a shadow of mine. So for me to avoid money means that I grew up with a situation where I've never really been taught a good practice or habit, because it's not second nature to me. I've never been taught a good method for how to gain, invest, save, or spend money effectively. Usually we come from a scarcity mindset, and when you live hand to mouth, like most of us do, paycheck to paycheck is the word you're used to. When you live paycheck to paycheck, you usually do as much as you can in the first half of the month. Second half of the month, you're trying to make whatever you have left over last until the beginning of the next month, where you get your next paycheck. And so when you get the next paycheck, because you've been in a season of lack and saving and scrambling and trying really hard not to spend any money, that you suddenly feel like, oh my gosh, you know what? I should treat myself, and you start the cycle all over again. So that's the mindset I come from. It is not a very clever mindset, because I would consider a clever mindset to be something where I don't have to struggle all the time, and I have plans or structure in place that helps me balance myself every day, which means I don't spend too much one day and then not enough the next or whatever. I always have enough is the mindset I'm going for. Still a work in progress, bear with me. But with that being said, because the clients kind of declined and it affected my ego and my self-esteem, so instead of going back out and trying to find new clients or building a habit where I'm constantly telling people I'm available, inviting them in to use my talent, right? I kind of shut down and crawled into a hole and sat there. And of course, that's not a money-making scheme by any means. And so I affected myself. I was in my own way, and it took me a while to get hip to the game on that one. I did not want to admit that. It's a harsh truth for me to admit to myself, but once I did, I realized, okay, well, I need to be able to ask for help. And I wasn't sure who I could ask for help from, because it's not like I am flush with cash, and it's not like I had any savings. When I first started this business, I used my last paycheck, and I only had my last paycheck to get me to the next project that was going to give me money. And that's why I've done so many things in between. I have cooked for people, I have meal prepped for people, I have made desserts for people, I have I've done tuition, I have mended clothes for people. I've done all kinds of little things. Save cleaning house. I haven't got to the point where I clean houses yet. But I mean, I would be willing to do that too. It's not a big deal. But these are the things I've tried to do in the meantime to kind of scramble and make sure that I had some money. But when it comes down to it, when you're really in bad shape and you're not sure how you're going to feed your kid the next day, who you gonna call is not Ghostbusters. I ended up having to lean on my brother heavily. And I wanted to make sure that people understand My brother is 10 years younger than me, and I had a big chip on my shoulder about whether I should or should not ask him for help. Now, we've always helped each other out. It's never been, one of those things where we keep track of how good we are, how much we owe each other. It's not like that at all. When we have it to give, we give it, especially if the other person asks. And so it's not us keeping tabs or anything, but I definitely had a chip on my shoulder. I definitely had a little bit of an ego situation to ask for help. Now, I know plenty of celebrities out there who have been on their last dollar and have had to rely on the kindness of strangers to kind of get through it. Somebody to give them a place to stay. Somebody to kind of, check in on them and give them some money every now and again. Somebody to message them every day just to, spend some time with them to make sure they're not going to lose their mind or do something crazy. And so that is the way it was. I think 2021 was a rock bottom of sorts for me, and I had to really discover the fact that while I was okay to just take care of me and my daughter, when I had other people move into the house, I suddenly had to take care of them as well. And it wasn't like they were contributing to the household. They came, they stayed, they had nowhere else to go, and I was happy to offer them a roof over their heads and food in their bellies. It was a human thing to do, and I was happy to do that. But in return, there was a lot of tension that was being created because I was being asked to shoulder responsibilities that were actually none of my own. And the person that was living with me was a grown-ass adult. So for them to shirk their responsibility meant that they were ready for me to take it on. And when I didn't take it on or didn't do it very well, it became my problem and my lack of ability rather than their irresponsibility, if you will. So that's another story. We'll talk about that another time. But basically, today, my gratitude comes from the fact that my brother has been my rock through all of this. My brother who has not judged me, who has given whenever he has a chance. I'm sure my sister-in-law is like, what the hell's wrong with this woman? But I love her dearly too, and I appreciate the fact that she's also supportive. But these are the times where you really get to know who's in your corner, who's not. Who would judge you before they help you, and who would help you before they judge you? Who would be willing to listen to you rant and rave, and at the end of it, be willing to offer an olive branch or, a little bit of help here and there? I recently met a few people that I never thought that, if I was in trouble, that they would offer to help me. And like I said, the kindness of strangers has played such a part in my life over the years that I should not be surprised anymore, but I'm also not banking on the fact that somebody will bail me out. That's the thing that I'm trying to get at. I have never been one of those people that says, oh, you know what? Somebody's going to figure it out. Someone's going to take pity on me and get me through this, because I can't stand the idea of pity. I don't want people to help me because they know of my situation. They know that I am struggling or whatever. I want them to help me because they know I'm worth it. I want them to help me because they think that it's an important piece to their own prosperity, to help each other as we go along. Now, I've always wondered, why is it that people always hesitate to pay you what you're worth? And a lot of times it's because of what they have available, their resources, and then, of course, what they think is worth the money. But people also don't consider the fact that, when they take their own sweet time to pay you, or they delay payments on purpose without much of an explanation, that if they were to consider that this was your last meal, would they still behave the same way? If they were to consider that I would maybe, I would never do this, but if I were to document every behavior that everyone ever did to me, and it was out there for the entire world to say, would they still behave the way that they do? Like, the things that people do behind closed doors really tells you a lot about their character. I've had people that are very, very gracious. And, even my ex-husband was like this. He would say, you know what, if you need some money, let me know. I'll help you out. But then when push comes to shove and I ask you for money, you suddenly need to take account of how much and complain if I asked you more than once. And then I suddenly feel like I'm not safe to ask you for help anymore. And it's not like I'm asking for, fabulous things like getting my hair done and getting my nails done. It's more like, we need to feed the kids. I'm running low on funds. I was recently let go from work. I need your support along the way. And it's something that I think is one of those topics that people really don't talk about, because there's a lot of self-worth, self-esteem attached to the idea of money, making money, saving money, spending money, the ability to have luxury. What is luxury? Like, all those things kind of get tied into the concept of money. But it's something that I feel like we really, really need to sit down and talk about as people in general. We need to teach people more financial intelligence. They need money EQ, right? They need to know how they feel about money, so that when they get into those feelings again, they know to not listen to the feeling, but to listen to the logic of it, so they can get to where they need to be the next go around. So with that being said, you guys, I think it's very important for you to always consider, when you engage someone to do a service for you, that you paying them could be the difference between their last meal or not. If you were to think of things like that, I think you would never hesitate again to pay people, and you would never, you know, sweet talk people into providing a service that you had no intention of actually paying for in the first place. So I think in a dog eat dog world where everyone's out for themselves, and there is this general idea that there's not enough for everyone, so I need to get to it first, if we could just change that mindset and help everybody help each other, I think there's plenty that could go around. I think that all of us could really survive and thrive instead of just live day to day. And I don't know. I will never again take for granted, I mean, I never would have in the beginning, but I will never take for granted the value of $1. How much I can do with $10 is pretty freaking amazing. And the fact that somebody would be willing, if I asked them to send me money at a moment's notice, not question where I am, what I'm doing, how bad things are, but allow me the chance to kind of redeem myself just by giving me that helping hand, reaching back and helping me out of a jam, listening even to the fact that I was struggling a little bit. All those things really, really matter. And I really hope that through the course of these podcast episodes that you realize who is there for you for real, and who talks a good game, but push come to shove, probably won't be there for you. And I'm not saying cut these people off. They've got their own growth to go through, but make sure you know who's got your back, really, who's going to be able to keep you on track. There is no hidden agenda. They're willing to listen and brainstorm with you. They're willing to hear you out on all of your crazy, wacky ideas, and then also, of course, offer their own 2 cents and be brave enough to come to you if they ever needed help. So these are the things that I think are really, really important. And it's all, backstory until I start getting into the nitty-gritty of the shadow work that I had to go through this year. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you understand where I'm coming to. The kindness of strangers, the people who really are your ride and dies, the people who believe in your work so much they're willing to spread themselves thin a little bit to help you out, because it's very different when someone else is struggling, right? And you ask them for help, and with all of their struggles going on, they're still willing to give you a little bit of what they have because they know it's enough and they know it will make a difference for you. Those are the people you treasure. Those are the people you cherish. Those are the people you make sure you give credit to, because it's not easy to give somebody $5 when you only have 10. You hear what I'm saying? So all my love, you guys. I will catch you on the next episode. Bye.